Today, I'm visiting the Tainan area to explore an amazing bonsai nursery, Chender Bonsai. I had a great conversation with the owner, Mr. Lee. And thanks to the new technology, I'm now using AI generated speech to translate the video content. I hope you like it.
Nice to meet you.
Hello.
Sorry to bother you.
Not at all. Where are you from?
I comes from Canada.
Canada?
Yes. Thank you.
Today, all the workers are on their day off. I'm the only one here today.
I see. Oh, you joined BCI too.
This is for you.
Thank you.
This is the brochure from when I served as the president of the Tainan City Bonsai Association.
Oh, thank you very much. So, there's a bonsai association in Tainan.
Yes, many regions in Taiwan have one.
Okay.
And each region's is a bit different.
Oh, they're different.
Right. We have different president each year. Each term lasts 2 years. You can serve a second term consecutively.
Understand.
That means the longest term is 4 years.
Oh, so a maximum of 4 years.
Yes.
I just found out that this is Wendon area, place of pomelo production.
Right. Here is the main and most famous. The Wendan pomelo produced in our area is the most famous. Should also be the best.
Is it due to the weather?
Yes, this is our location. It's just the right temperature and humidity.
I see. Because I've always loved bonsai, and there aren't many in Vancouver. So I wanted to come and see them. Wow, you have so many awards.
It's not too bad. Many bonsai growers do the same.
How long have you been growing bonsai?
Over 30 years.
That's amazing. So, from when? When did you start?
Do you mean at what age? I started at 23 years old.
Oh, 23.
Yes, started at the age of 23.
I'm so envious you started at such a young age.
At that time, I just liked it, a pure and simple love for it.
I see.
And back then, at 23 years old, people would say, "You're so young. Growing this is quite weird."
Huh.
It's something usually grown by older people.
Nowadays, many young people grow bonsai. You see, in mainland China, many start learning in their teens.
Yes, bonsai has its own beauty and charm that attracts people.
Right.
Take us for example. In Taiwan, I feel that bonsai is on the decline. Currently.
You do think so?
Yes, and now, I am the chairman of the Taiwan Bonsai Creators Association.
Oh.
Our association is entirely made up of skilled professionals. And I'm working on promoting some initiatives.
So, you feel there are some things that need to be done?
Currently, the most important thing I want to promote is the qualification system for bonsai instructors in Taiwan. That means in our association, based on the points of our members accumulated, we will issue an instructor qualification to them.
It's like a certificate, right?
Exactly. With this qualification, you can use it to teach classes and promote yourself.
That's right.
Promote it to more people who want to learn, because you already possess a certain level of skill and experience. So, at this point, we can officially recognize you as qualified to teach. When it comes to teaching, beginners obviously won't have much experience. So that, with the certificate, showing this certificate to teach these newcomers should be more than sufficient.
But in Taiwan, are there currently any certificates or qualifications like the ones you just mentioned?
There aren't any. There are none in Taiwan.
Oh,
And because we are the largest organization of skilled professionals in Taiwan,
okay.
let me give this to you.
Okay.
This one.
Bonsai style exhibition.
This year, the first thing I want to promote is the instructor qualification program. The second is international technical exchange, because I am quite familiar with the Philippines, Indonesia, Malaysia, and Thailand. If they need it, we can provide technical support, but we don't dare to say it's teaching them.
Exchange.
Yes, an exchange of knowledge. We wouldn't dare say we're teaching them. If they need technical exchange in this area, we are willing to send experts over.
Where is this year's exhibition being held?
This year will be in Tainan, since I'm in Tainan.
When will it take place?
September 7th.
I see. September 7th. Is it around September every year?
Next year will be the same.
I see.
I am going to Indonesia in July.
Oh, Indonesia. Do you think the level in Indonesia is high?
They have their own aesthetic for shaping trees. Not too bad.
Oh. I'm not very familiar with Indonesia. However, I've seen some that seem to be from Vietnam. Many of their bonsai techniques are quite similar to the mainland one.
Lingnan.
Yes, Lingnan style. Do you think so?
Not quite the same.
Okay.
It's not exactly the same, but I would say, in terms of aesthetics, they have their own unique characteristics. But in recent years, as Vietnam has been developing its economy, they've started absorbing external influences. So, in the past few years, they've also been heavily influenced by Taiwan. Many trees from Taiwan are sold there.
Understand.
The methods of tree shaping in Taiwan are completely different from those in Vietnam.
Overall, it's also pruning and wiring, right?
Well, yes.
Just the shaping methods are different?
In Taiwan, we tend to emphasize a more natural approach. For example, if that's a pine tree, we determine what its shape should be by imitating nature.
According to nature.
Yes, drawing inspiration from the natural environment and incorporating it into bonsai. But in Vietnam, their styles are quite unusual and eccentric. They tend to have some, how should I put it?
Is it the aesthetic they've created?
They're just unusual, very unusual.
I see.
But they think it's very unique. And that's true, it is unique. But from the perspective of our earlier instructors and the methods they taught, it's quite different.
Could it be that their techniques are actually very skillful? But the problem is that it feels unnatural.
It's difficult to achieve, and it also takes a long time.
So, there is skill.
Right. Reaching that look is very challenging and takes a long time. But the question is, for example, is this technique or method truly beautiful?
You mean if it feels natural?
Well, beauty is subjective.
Right.
Beauty is very subjective. For example, I might find something beautiful today, but you might not feel the same.
Right.
Your beauty is subjective, so we can't judge whether it's right or wrong. It's just that, from our perspective, it feels a bit unusual.
Actually, I've thought about this question too. Because what do you think the bonsai should be made? As you know, Japan is the leader in bonsai,
Right,
and many of our methods largely follow Japanese techniques.
right.
And we also follow their rules. But from another perspective, is it truly natural? That's another question entirely.
Right.
It's certainly beautiful, but whether it's natural, that's the question I've been pondering. And which direction is truly the right one? But there's no definitive right answer either, isn't it?
Beauty is very subjective. What you find beautiful, I might not necessarily agree with.
In fact, it was actually Japanese bonsai that attracted me and got me into bonsai in the first place.
I really think Japan is incredible at promoting bonsai. Very impressive.
Techniques are excellent as well.
And Taiwan has actually developed its own unique approach. We've incorporated some Lingnan techniques and, in terms of structure, diverged somewhat from Japanese methods while drawing from their concepts.
Absorbing concepts from both.
Right. When it comes to carving, Taiwan has developed its own techniques, particularly the art of fine carving, known as silk carving. This delicate carving method is a distinct technique we've refined over time. Of course, I've also seen many Japanese books, really impressive. Sometimes their transformations are amazing. With just a few adjustments, wow, the tree becomes incredible.
Yes, you're right.
Later, Taiwan developed its own set of techniques for carving juniper trees. Silk carving showcases the more natural appearance of the tree's fibers.
I agree.
Because when you use mechanical carving, you have to cut through the fibers.
Follow the direction of the tree's fibers when carving.
When you cut the fibers, sometimes they can break or crumble. Danny does it beautifully as well, following the direction of the fibers. So that Taiwan has shared its expertise in juniper tree styling with other countries. When I was just starting out, around 23, no, maybe 24 or 25 years old, I attended a bonsai instructor training course. At that time, Taiwan was promoting the concept of natural bonsai.
Oh, okay.
At that time, that was the moment to introduce that concept. They just happened to bring that concept in, and at that time, I happened to hear it.
Oh, I see.
And the teacher explained that whatever type of tree it is, it should naturally reflect that appearance. From a distance, you should be able to recognize the tree and know, that's a juniper, that's a pine, that's an elm, or that's a hackberry, and so on. And within each system, they are categorized accordingly. The posture and structure of deciduous trees, as well as their species, will naturally determine what kind of form they develop. And for evergreen species, we carefully analyze and determine what kind of structure they should have.
Systematization.
Right. We need to learn how to observe natural trees. If you don't understand what you're looking at, it won't be of any use to you. You might see a beautiful tree, but if you can't explain where its beauty lies, it doesn't help you.
My perspective is that Lingnan techniques tend to lean more toward a natural approach. It's about how you can take the essence of the large trees you see in nature and condense that into a bonsai. However, I think the downside is that it takes too much time.
In Taiwan, when I perform certain techniques, I do imitate them to some extent. But I don't strictly follow their methods completely. But I do take some reference from their methods.
Yes, nowadays we definitely all do some wiring.
This part has a significant curve or transition.
Yes.
It starts by bending right here. Then it gradually grows over, little by little.
So, it will naturally grow over?
It won't grow outward, it will grow inward.
I see.
At the bend, it also curves like this, but it slowly grows inward.
When you do silk carving, you usually start carving from the outside in.
Yes, that's the principle, because in nature, trees growing in the wild are affected by external forces, so the damage usually occurs on the outside. The living parts are protected and hidden on the inside.
You're right. That's just how nature works.
Theoretically, that's how it is, but not always. I once saw a tree in Japan where the live vein, waterline, was on the outer curve. It was very unique.
I see. After an hour-long conversation, I followed Mr. Lee as he took care of his bonsai trees by watering them one by one.
Today is a holiday, so all workers are taking a break.
How many times do you water in a day?
Broadleaf species are watered twice a day, while conifer species are watered once a day.
Twice a day. Do the larger ones also need waterings?
Broadleaf species have a higher water uptake, while conifer species don't require as much.
I see. So, do you water until the pot feels cool? That's a method I've heard of.
Ideally, yes. But if time is limited, as long as you've watered, that's good enough.
But at least twice a day.
For broadleaf species, like this kind, twice a day is definitely necessary.
Do you export any of your trees?
Yes, more or less, we do. This is a podocarpus.
Oh, podocarpus. For podocarpus, does the deadwood tend to rot easily?
If it has sherry, like this one, you definitely need to regularly apply lime sulfur to preserve it.
Twice a year, right?
Yes, you can. If you don't apply it, the decay will progress more quickly, because the trunk itself doesn't contain any natural oils. Unlike cypress.
I see. Is this a Taiwan shimpaku?
Yes,
So, for example, with Taiwanese juniper, will you graft branches from Itoigawa shimpaku?
not really. Because in Taiwan, the weather is too hot and humid, which creates favorable conditions for fungal and bacterial growth. If the tree itself isn't particularly strong, it can become infected with fungi and fall ill.
So, Taiwanese juniper is the most suitable species for Taiwan.
Including Southeast Asia, where we currently have some juniper trees being cultivated. In Southeast Asia, Taiwanese juniper is still the better choice because it's more heat resistant.
But the problem is that it has a lot of spikes.
Not really. This issue is very easy to solve. Just reduce the water a bit, and it will be fine.
Doesn't pruning cause more spikes to grow?
Pruning more will, of course, but once it recovers, you need to control the water properly.
Huang Jin.
The Tainan Potted Plant Association. The book cover is this kind of tree. This tree is wild.
Is this an old tree?
Very old wild tree species.
Is it okay for a full day sun?
It's okay. But, because it snows in Canada, he might not be able to take it.
Yes, Canada not able to plant this kind of tree. While this is thick.
Speaking of seven-generation garden, well, the owner of the garden, the owner, his son, and his daughter.
He has 2 daughters.
We all learned from the same master.
Really? Does his daughter also study?
Yes, learning with teacher Zhang.
Oh, Mr. Cheng Cheng Kung. You also learn from him.
Yes, I am. And probably close to 20 years.
Oh, 20 years.
In the next video, Mr. Lee takes me to his friend's bonsai nursery, and I'm blown away by his approach to growing bonsai and the philosophy behind it. Have a great day growing your bonsai, and I'll see you in the next video.